我们现在就把时间交给下一位艺术家哈 ，Florian Stotawa， 给大家为我们介绍他的作品。
Okay, can you hear me? Yes, I think it works. I've been talking about my work yesterday several times, but I do it again because I think not all of you have been here.
我其实昨天讲了几次，不过各位可能都还没有参观过，所以我在这边再说明一次。
What I'm showing in the exhibition is a construction out of office furniture and items from an office. And it's two offices, two special offices. It's the office of the director of MoCA and the office of the director of the Goethe Institute.
我这个装置里面呢有几件家具，那这些家具来自的地方都很特别。这个家具的来自的地方是两位特别人士的办公室，一位是歌德学院的主任的办公室，一个是这个当代艺术馆馆长的办公室。
The idea to take the material from these two offices was that I wanted these two institutions that are involved in this exhibition, that I wanted to involve them also physically in my piece.
因为当代艺术馆跟台北歌德学院是主办这次展览的最重要的两个单位，那我希望这两个单位也能够在我的作品里面就具体的存在参与。
And as you can see, this construction, it has a function. It carries a video projector.
那我这个装置大家可以看出来，上面就放了一个 video 的那个投影机。
And it works like a screen where the projection can be seen.
那你可以看出里面就投射出一些照片跟。
Here you can see a projected photo. I'm showing 162 photographs that I did in the year 1996. This was during my studies.
我放的这些照片是我在1996年拍摄的时候，那个时候我正是在柏林的艺术学院当学生。
And there I did a complete inventory of my possessions at this time.
我等于是把我个人私有的物品呢做了一次全部的清点工作。
So if you go upstairs, you can see what I owned 17 years ago.
所以你到楼上就可以看到我17年前我到底有了什么东西。
I show you some of the photographs, only the kitchen stuff.
比如说厨房的部分。
The idea behind these photographs was that I was studying in a sculpture class at this time, and I wanted to do sculpture, but the main question was for me, which material could I take? Where should I start with my art?
我那时候是在柏林主修雕塑，所以我就想雕塑的时候我要用什么素材，所以我就开始思考到底有什么材料是我可以使用的。
So it was logical for me before I, for example, go to the hardware store and bring material from there. It was logical for me to start with the material that's already there, with my things and with my belongings.
那想到材质，我当然可以到外面的材质器材店去看看有什么材质。不过我也可以回来自己的家里看看我自己本人就已经拥有了哪些材料。
But here in this piece, my former belongings come together with the stuff from the museum and from the Goethe Institute, and I show you two older examples where I worked with material from museums.
所以，然后我的整个装设里面又有从当代艺术馆里面跟歌德学院里面拿来的材料，所以我真正的目的是要告诉大家如何使用这个材质表现在艺术里面。
This was an exhibition in Switzerland. What you can see is the first room of the museum. It is the museum shop where you can buy your ticket and where you can buy a catalog, for example.
我现在跟大家放的这个是在一个瑞士的博物馆。那这里是一个博物馆里面的商店哈，大家可以买图录，可以买门票等等。
And this was the situation when you entered the museum. And the second room of the museum, it had the same size. And my idea was to copy the museum shop in the second room.
那我的想法就是我想要把这个 museum 博物馆里的那个商店呢，我也做一个 copy， 然后表现在另外一个同样大小的场地里面。
So in fact, I did not copy the shop, but I copied the structure of the shop. So the shelves and the desk where you can buy the ticket and the furnitures where the catalogs are stored. And to make this construction, I used the private possessions of the director of the museum.
那我为了要把这个展示出来，我其实是 copy， 我复制的东西是整个结构哈，并不是里面的细节。那为了复制这个东西，我的材质我也是从这个博物馆的主任的办公室里面的用品拿出来使用。
So I was able to go to her apartment. She lived in Bern in Switzerland, and I told her, if you want to have an exhibition with me, you have to give me material. You have to give me the inventory of your apartment.
他真的是到那个主任，不仅是到那主任家住的公寓里面哈，他就跟他说，如果你要我做这个展览，那我就需要你提供一些你公寓里面你的自己的东西。
For example, here you can see a bookshelf that I turned 90 degrees to become the desk where you can buy the ticket.
我把他的书柜变成90度的翻转之后，看起来像一个可以购买门票的一个柜台。
Or here you can, I don't know the English word for it, but you can see the thing that's in the bed underneath the mattress.
在那个一个床的下面，你下面可以放那个床罩之后的下面的空间，你可以使用的那个抽屉哈。
And this was mounted to the wall, and the part for the head you can did I tilt it a little bit? You can, and so it formed a construction to hang your coat.
OK， 他把那个整个床面哈，整个翻转立在墙上。那因为那个后面的设置有一个可以弯曲的地方，然后他把它拉下来之后，那个现在剩下这空间好像就是衣帽间可以放帽子的地方。
So the director of this museum, she had a kind of camping situation in her apartment for 2.5 months, and after this period, she got everything back.
OK， 所以这位博物馆的主任是位女士，她的自己的私有东西都出借在这个展览中，所以她自己在家里就好像要搭帐篷一样。过了这样的两个半月的时间，她才有办法把她自己的东西再重新拿回去。
So you see what you can see in this exhibition. It's a kind of soft version of this concept.
所以我在这边只拿了桌子跟一点点的办公室里的东西，所以是一个比较缓和的版本。
I'll show you another example where I worked with stuff from the museum. This was in a museum in Kiel in northern Germany, where I went to the office spaces of the museum and to the storage spaces, and there I collected small parts of furniture and other objects to construct pedestals for the artworks from the collection of the museum.
我这是在德国北方的一个城市叫 Kiel 的一个博物馆的一个展览。那我为了装饰这个这个作品呢，我到那个博物馆里面的仓储里面哈，还有摆放家具的地方，把我所需要的东西拿出来使用。
So usually for a pedestal you use wood and you paint it white so that it's very neutral. Here the pedestal was a construction out of different objects from the museum.
OK， 所以通常我们摆设那个架台哈，通常都是白色的立站式，但是我其实是从不同的材质、不同的用具，把它变成一个展示台。
So in this case, all the material was from the museum. The things on the top, they came from the storage, from the art department. The things underneath, they came from the offices and workshops.
所以像这个作品，就是整个东西的材料都是从那个展出的博物馆本身拿出来的。最上面那个雕塑是从这个博物馆的艺术部门，然后下面2个材质椅子啊，跟那些柜子，那是从家具的办公室的地方拿出来的。
And in the exhibition, I showed 12 of these works. And what I liked very, very much was that after the exhibition, the museum they bought 3 of these works. So they bought what they already owned.
我展了12件作品在这里面，其中2件作品，这个博物馆最后还帮我买下来哈，也就是说他们自己出钱买下他们自己的材质做出来的艺术品。
So now you maybe think that I'm a very mean artist because the curators have to suffer and museum directors they're losing their offices and institutions get mixed up. But these works, they have a background. I showed you in the beginning the photographs of my own stuff, of my belongings. And this work developed to a series of works where I used my own belongings, the things from my apartment, for installations. And this is an ongoing series. And I show you just one example out of the series. It's a quite old work from 1999.
你们可能认为我实在是个很捣蛋的作家哈，到处去跟人家要一些家具，最后还要让那个博物馆用那个钱把它收买回去哈。而且可是事实上，我说背后是有一些考量的哈。那我一个长期的一个创作的过程里面的考量，那我开始用属于我自己的东西，我也把它拿出来做展示。那这个是我1999年的一个作品系列。
This was my first museum exhibition. It was in Kassel, so the place where usually the Documenta takes place, but it was not during Documenta, unfortunately. Unfortunately. And at this time I brought all my belongings to the museum, and there I constructed piles out of the stuff, and they were as high as my mother.
这个展览的地点是在德国的卡瑟城市，这个就是德国著名的文件每5年一次的文件展的举行的地方。不过很不幸的，我这个展览并不是属于这个文件展的一部分哈。那这个展览里面，我把我自己所有的家当都带去了，然后我把它堆叠起来，我堆叠起来的高度就是我妈妈的高度。
So it was maybe a little bit ironic to say that she's the measurement of all my things, but I also included the car. It didn't fit through the door of the museum, so it had to stand outside, but it was also lifted to her height of 1.62 meters.
我妈妈的身高是1米1公尺162公分高哈。那我所有东西都是把它垫到这个高度。那有的，比方说车子的话，我没有办法再放到博物馆里面，我就摆在外面，然后把这个车子呢把它垫高到最后的高度也是162公分。
So these are just a few examples of my work to give you a background to the piece here in the museum.
所以我现在告诉你们，这些是我的作品的生产过程的一些背景，所以希望各位帮助各位能够更了解我在这里展出的这个作品。
I first want to start with an advertisement that is actually advertising BMW's new electric cars, and the car actually got just presented at the EIA. Just last weekend actually, so it's a brand new car. I just start with it and then I go into the details of my work.
我比较关注的问题是商业广告。那现在我跟你看到的就是最近那个 BMW 出的新车子哈，它的新的电动车。那这才是刚刚最近的，应该是法兰克福的车展才刚刚提出来的最新款项的车型。那这是我的背景，我从这边开始。
Welcome to a new world of visionary mobility. Mobility that will change the way we live and move in our cities. With pure progression aggressive shapes to fascinate us, with lightning performance to excite us, with intelligent applications and services to help us relax. Welcome to a new world of visionary mobility, where electric cars are fun to drive and reflect responsibility, where super light and super strong carbon fibers set new standards in range and safety, and where sustainability extends to all areas of our lives. It's time to start a new way of thinking.
I would still call myself a sculptor. Also, my installations in the last years got much more into movies and videos and all these kind of things.
我一直对这种生产的过程这个影片等等尤其是商业广告等等，我都非常有兴趣，也放入我的作品里面。
Yeah. And now I will mix up a bit works that I did myself and some of resources I use to make videos or make some of my artistic works. And what you see here is actually the a kunai from the British Museum, and I was specifically interested in the beginning that sculpture as a kind of medium that has physics that you can exchange, that you can have in your hand, communicate something, and in this case it's very literal, it's on the surface, you can read it and have it in your hand.
这个物件是在那个大英博物馆。那我对我的主修是一个雕塑哈，所以我对这个东西你能够碰触它，你能够改变它，非常有兴趣。
Yeah, these are more examples. I go through it a bit fast, otherwise it takes all too long. Well, this is another example which I used in works. It's from the medieval codex, the Manesse Codex, which is a German codex where you always see like an artist, let's say, exchanging a text with a commissioner, and what happens actually that this text becomes more like a symbolic form, like a sculptural kind of narration, if you want so. And this is finally the work I did with. This is porcelain. I am one of those that make porcelain. I did. This is 2008. And as I combined these kind of forms of traditional forms or historical forms into a sculpture.
你可以看到我的作品哈，那比方说那个古书哈，那个西方印刷的那个 codex 那些古书，我都可以看出说里面很多那种雕塑的成分。那我最后的像这个是我的作品哈，我其中我就把这个下面好像有这种古老书籍的这个印象，那加上上面是我放出来的我做出来的一个雕塑的形象，我把它们摆在一起，成为我的作品。
And that was a time in the work I was doing in 2009 where I actually tried to just get all the information out and just make like monumental big works.
这是2009的一个作品。那这是我的一个想法之一，对。
Yeah, and this was the first work where I included reproduction tools into my work. So this is a scanner, which actually brought back like an idea in how far like two-dimensionalities, like things that can be represented very quickly on your computer or can be exchanged via the internet, and how it collides with the idea of sculpture that needs physics and needs time and space.
我这里有用到那个扫描机那有用到笔电等等。那其实这在网络的社会里面，我们就常常想到说这个资讯是如何重新被产生。那我喜欢用这个媒体，我也想把我的雕塑在其中能够跟它有一个对话的关系。
Yeah, and continued in these kind of bigger installations in 2010.
这是2010的我的一个展览。
Using brand new reproduction technologies and combine it with plastered blocks that are grinded, so there is both these physicalities and kind of digital impossibilities of transferring.
这是2010年的作品哈。那我其实关于怎么样重新复制的一个产品很有興趣。那可以看到各个物件不同的材质之間的一種好像互動的關係。
The image before, and this one is actually also based on different formats of video imagery. So you saw like 4:3, 16:9, 1.7, 8:1. These are all like formats actually that you used that is used in screens. And in this case, there was a heat system of 10,000 watt on it, let's say, so the whole wall was actually breathing while it was having the dimensions of a theatrical showing of a cinema size.
这是一个大型的荧幕哈，好像有那个到了那个电影放映的尺寸What about the temperature?
Sorry?
You have mentioned about temperature, no?
Oh yeah, like 8,000.
8,000 temperature?
Yeah, temperature.
它把温度提升到8000度。
no, watt.
瓦的8000瓦，对。不是8000瓦。
Yeah, so it continued, and I'll just quick it up a bit. So these are actually like this, for example, I use this as a kind of media museum, I almost want to call it. Like I used references like this old printing machine, the Heidelberg printing machine, and color codes from Flickr and other items that are coming from popular culture and reproduction technologies, histories, displays. So it's actually like I used the whole, in this case, the nature as a kind of surface to build a museum.
我使用不同的材质，其实包括说大自然界的元素，我也会利用到，但是我也会将这近看就看清，我也用一些不同颜色的色素，还有机器，那甚至是那个博物馆里的看板说明板等等，也整合在一起。Okay.
Yeah, working with all these tools, I made this series actually, so like all pictures of fingerprints on technology surfaces. This is from my DVD cam, from my DV cam.
Video cam.
Video cam, yeah.
我的 video 你可以看出这里很多那个指纹的指纹的那个留下来的痕迹哈，这是我从我的那个摄影机上面所拍下来的。
And I really enjoyed that in the end, like what you are doing is still leaving traces. Also, as you think you're kind of working invisible in the field, let's say. This is an image of a trackpad folded out, and it was presented like this. And what I was doing, what you also see in this image, I was using projectors, and I always build a kind of still life around the projectors on the colors of the RGB, like red, green, and blue. Which actually all the projectors and televisions also in the show use to make the light that communicates in the end.
我有常常会考虑3种原色哈，就是RGB 就是红色、绿色跟蓝色，因为这3个原色是产生所有在数位影像里面的最基本的元素。那像这里面我就我把那个投影机竖起来之后，我在旁边摆设那3种3种颜色的元素的材质在旁边。
Yes, and these are like from last year works I started with. This is actually found like footage that I partly found and partly self-made on big trading fairs. On the left you see, for example, a pavilion on the Hanover technology fair, or like a carbon fiber kind of assembling line also on that fair. On downside you see like the problematics that came up while crops is actually concurrent with how you say like with fuel crops. So I really got into this how you say like problematics around advertising Yeah, that's just not too much. Yeah, no,
OK，
yeah.
这是我从几个很重要的那个国际的商业展哈，都拿出来的那个的相片。那你可以看出现在的商业广告的魅力无穷哈，它可以跨越很多领域，甚至把用不同的元素哈，用最自然的元素来解释一些工业的产品。
I really got it's really the shortest presentation I ever did. Normally I got really more into details. This is actually the work that you can see here also, which actually consists of 3 monitors. And what you see is actually like an advertisement for oil, for oil that actually should be sustainable, let's say, or it's produced sustainable. Then you see actually what the sculptural parts are made of, aluminium. You see bauxite mining, so the raw footage for aluminium, and then you see on the other monitor kids playing in the desert with jeeps just consuming fuel.
像我这3个那个video 的装置里面，比方说第一个装置我就看出石油的产业的一些广告，那第2个里面有一些制铝的工业哈，那第3个 video 里面我就放出那些一些儿童在一个沙漠的地方的一个游乐的情况。
Yeah, and then that comes also back to the BMW advertisement, like what you see in the end of the advertisement. You see like someone like Adam and Eve are living in this tree house, and yes, if the planet is safe, and we can start all over again.
就好像我们刚刚放的那个 BMW 的影像哈，你看它把工业产品到最后还会跟自然界的那个景观能够做结合，好像就说我们这整个可以重新开始，然后我们又可以重新来一遍。
Thank you.
谢谢。好，我们现在请下一位艺术家，就是为我们装设在大门口的那个Turning Gate 的那个艺术家，他来解释他的作品。
Yeah, I'm not going to show like my oeuvre, like, but I just show a few turning gates. That's a kind of general title for these works, which one of them you see outside. And I just show these images to show that actually they all look different, and that is because they are made in different places, and that's some kind of important thing to my work and to my attitude towards production, that I go and travel somewhere and then I work with the material that is there, with the people that are there, and with the situation that I find myself in.
是在当地，我要从零开始，我要整个把它做出来。那我们刚刚看到这些影像是在不同的地方做的，类似像 Turning Gate 的一个装置。
Yes, I mean they're like different.
OK， 这非常不同的。
Yeah, they're like different things, and that's like I'm not somebody who sits in the studio and is thinking about the work that I want to do, but I kind of go to the place, and then I have like some kind of idea about the place. So like here, I come here, and then I see the square outside, and I think, it's like there has to be a volume of this size, and I go around shopping, and I find these materials, and then I'm curious about it, and I just do something.
所以像我不想说在我自己的工作室里面把东西做出来，然后再移放过来。我通常都是到了一个地点，像比方这次我就是在MoCA 的这个前门看到这个这一片广场，那我就开始想说我要来做些什么东西，然后我开始列出采购的清单，我就到当地这边的地方去去收集到我需要的材料，然后把它做出来。我需要跟这个当地的景致也要有一种好像对话的关系。
So
Oh yeah, I mean I involve also the people that are there. I don't have like a factory at home, and the work outside could also look different. It could have another color on the skin also.
所以我很喜欢在当地工作，在户外这样地工作，而且跟当地人这里的人有互动的关系，这个对我蛮重要。
So when I invited you for the exhibition and was telling you about the concept, could you relate to it immediately, or did it take to think twice?
Well, like my response was more like to look at the place and then to see like if I would like to make a work here, and I thought like coming to Taiwan is like certainly a good opportunity to make work, and was curious about it. And I mean, like Risk Society is more. I don't know. I wasn't like feeling like, oh, I take a risk coming here and then producing the work. It's like a like an artistic position or so, but it's more like an experiment. And then this is what came out.
Okay. 这个策展人问他说：“当我邀请你来的时候，你心里有什么新的想象？什么？”米小叶他的回答是说：“我必须来到这个当地，哈，我要看到这个地方，然后我才开始能够有一些想法，有一些我才有一些我的概念才会出来。”
So I know you have a set of different techniques or inventions, I would maybe call them, that you are using on different places. Is there some special detail while you chose the turning construction at Taiwan, or how do you come to this decision?
你为什么？那你比方说在台湾，你为什么会用这个旋转的概念哈，用在台湾这个当下的情况？
Yeah, like just now you saw like there's like a little machine park kind of thing, and these are like machine or tools that I developed myself to kind of to be able to make the work that I want to make in a certain kind of time. So time is very important in that sense. And then these machines turn themselves into like architectural objects, like the turning gates in a way. And they of course have something to do with the social aspects of the place, like people go in and use it and communicate through it.
我自己把这些机器弄出来，哈，做出来。那我有很多想，比方说时间的概念是对我蛮重要，它会有一个关键的因素。另外，这个机械哈，它在旋转的过程中，那你就有进有出。那对我来讲，这个是一个流入流出，对这个社会的，好像一个社会的脉络是有关联的。
And I know also that working together with people on site is very important, not only because your projects are big, but because you like the group dynamics. Could you tell a little bit about the group dynamic that in the preparation of this work?
Yeah, it's
对你来讲，显然是说你要跟当地人合作哈，所以这个群体之中互动的关系是很重要。你可以跟我们讲一下你在这里跟大家的互动的关系。
Yeah, it's like a tiki-tiki. So tiki-tiki was, I think, the main word for communication with my workers here. And I didn't know what it meant until yesterday, but I think it's a nice word, I think. Oh, it's like one piece. It means like one long piece.
Tiki-tiki?
Tiki-tiki? Or tiki? What was it? Tiki.
Tiki.
I always said tiki. Tiki.
Okay. OK， 他是 Tiki， 讲 Tiki， 我们有在讲 Tiki。
So it doesn't seem to work with you, but the thing is, it worked with the people that I worked with. So like we created our own kind of communication while being here. So and this is a very enjoyable thing to do. You know, you go to some other place. And then based on like a very human kind of thing, like crafts, like handicrafts, you can actually build something together, which is like big in the end and somehow basically enjoyable, and it works.
Okay, 所以人类之间虽然不同的社会，但是还是有一些找到共通的语言的。我觉得这个是很大的乐趣哈，跟工作的一种动力。
Yeah, like for example, the picture before was in Sao Paulo, and I cannot speak Portuguese, not Brazilian Portuguese, and there it was more like a dance move to kind of say, okay, we are in touch and we are ahead in time, and yeah.
这是在葡萄牙吗？哈，在 Portuguese。这个是在葡萄牙的一个展览。那我其实不能讲葡萄牙语，但是我还是能够跟当地的人有一些我们还是有一些互动的关系。反正这个总之就是一个重要的，就是实验，做实验。
Hello, I will say some thoughts, some aspects on the video work that I have here in the first floor, and I'll just let it run so you can have an idea of it. Some of you may have seen it for a short moment, but it's good to have it here.
这是我解释哈，这个我的作品刚在楼上，那里面是有一些影片。那我现在我主要是关心是时间的问题。那我现在就让这个 video 这样再跑一下，大家可以看出来，先让大家观赏几分钟的时间哈。那各位观众如果有什么反应的话，也欢迎您提问。OK。
Yeah. And what I'm showing is these are video works from a series of more video works to be all presented within a construction, like also here in the museum, which is some kind of apparatus to guide the view.
我的主题是用鹅哈，这个是但是我主要用这个过程，它其实是一个用好像主导的一个观点，让我们来得到做一些某一种层次的思考。Okay.
The viewer looks into it from the top, and it doesn't matter from which side, as it has no up and down in a way.
如果你从上面往下看的话，那你其实是分不出左右上下的。
And there's a video projected in the inside, which is coming from the bottom and is seen on some kind of screen in the middle.
我的装置里面下面有一个 video 的那个投影机，是从下面往上投射。
And as the act of viewing can also be seen as some kind of projection, there are these two projections that meet in the middle on the screen. There are these two contrary directions.
我的投影机在下面是从下往上投射，但是观众看我的作品是从上往下看，所以这个你的眼睛，观众的眼睛跟那个投射机本身好像是两种投射机一样，然后这两个投射机的焦点就在中间哈。
In these videos, there's my hand or my arm, or can be seen while I'm turning pages or flipping pages from an endless stack of paper.
这是我自己的手哈，去翻动一页一页的纸，那整个翻动的就是永无止境的不断的翻动这个纸张。
And there's a slightly change within the images.
那你中间的那个形象呢，会有每一张有略的不同的改变。
What I'm showing are all kind of different circles here. As you see this one, it's the turning around an axis. In the first one, it was the shift from light to dark with the inside and outside and back again. So it's all different circles that come from my artistic work.
所以你会看这个小小的中间的图像的转变，它可能旋转一下，那它就各自形成一个循环圈哈。那我这整个作品里面有不同的循环的圈。
So what I'm doing and interested in here, this work is doing a fragmentation of the passing of time. So to take out like here in this case just one picture out of the stream of time and use it as one image to have a moving image again.
我这个其实我考虑的是整个时间流逝的过程。那这个每一单张的形象呢，就好像是在这个过程之中做下了一个影像的一个记录。
So what I'm doing is animating this image again. So with my own action. So it's, I would say, some animation in its purest sense, but in real time.
所以我的手的这个翻动的动作哈，就好像是一种动画的过程哈。我这个作品其实可以讲说是将时间去动画化。Animation of time. Okay.
like a metronome used in music. You know, a metronome, this kind of object to hold a rhythm, like tick tack, where you can set the speed that you need for your play. It's giving a rhythm which is not like a fixed rhythm or counting the time, but more a physical or corporal rhythm coming from inner functions.
我们好像说音乐的那个那个说节拍器一样，好，有这种节拍的韵律。那我这个作品就比较抽象，我的想法是说，我不是用机械式的去计算测量时间，而是用我的物质性的，我的手的物质性的存在，去把这个时间的流逝表现出来。
So it can also be seen as an essay on musicality or musical patterns, and one can only see one video at a time as you look at it, like into it, but you have the sounds of the three different videos in the space.
对，所以我们也可以讲说，这有点有它特殊的音乐性。虽然我每次我眼睛只看到一个影像，可是那个3个不同的那个 video 装置在里，它就发出3种不同的声音，这个3种声音是同时可以被听到的。
And the shape of the construction that you see in the exhibition has its origin, like I said, in the analogy to a metronome, and also in the origin of a camera obscura.
所以我这个想法里面，你可以联想到哈，第一个刚刚我听到的音乐的那个音乐的节拍器哈，演奏的节拍器，这是一个可能。另外一个你也可以想到，好像我们那个以前用的那个针孔摄影机一样，因为它装置的形式是一个三角形，有像投射的这种针孔摄影机。
And the camera obscura is important to me as some device to capture and also translate reality.
那针孔摄影机就是对艺术家最重要的就是它怎么样去捕捉，而且能够改变那个我们捕捉到的那个实体实境或真实。
And here, if you look into it, then you're yourself or with your eye on the position of the whole of the lens of this apparatus.
你如果比方说针孔摄影机，你的眼睛必须要放在正确的那个聚焦的位置，你才可以看出形象。Okay.
So maybe this is all a big metaphor of my affinity towards talking, standing next to my artworks.
这好像是很大的隐喻哈，我自己可以在旁边来对我的作品做说明。
So it's maybe a symbol of my inner resistance to talk about my artwork in the exhibition, as I believe that artworks do not necessarily get better if you talk a lot about it. So you messed it now completely. So maybe I just stop all this and talk about the piece upstairs, which is kind of a it's kind of a landscape, or maybe a landscape garden consisting of polygonal shapes that I sometimes call rocks or so. And in between this set of raw and very undefined shapes, you have little vitrines, little acrylic cases that show objects that I created, partly in my studio, partly here on site, by the help of objects that I found in Taipei. And the topic of all this installation is my interest for world models. I'm very much interested in the history of the universe and the models of descriptions of the universe Sorry.
这蛮长的，不要解释。这个Björn他很幽默说，也许因为其实艺术的作品不一定要用来解释才会更好，所以也许是天意所以他这个没有办法在这里把它表现出来。那他现在先说明他的作品是有一个白色的那个不同不规则形状的一个像石头一样的东西，他就自己有时候把它称为它就是石头那在这个石头的中间呢，他又创造了一些他自己设置的一些非石头的东西的作品。那主要他的考虑是他想到一些宇宙性的问题。Okay.
So yes, my interest is about the images of the world throughout history, and so I think art is is about the history of images actually, and this is what makes it very hard to talk about art, is that in my opinion art is not based on verbal expression and is not a process of translation. So it's not so my work as an artist is not translating something from verbal expression into an image, but to proceed with the history of images that was begun by our ancestors, so to say, and this.
OK， 我认为艺术不是说我们先有一些语言的表达，然后把这个语言的表达变为形象，变为意象、图形我觉得不是应该是这样，我觉得它不需要这种语言的表达，应该是艺术对我来说比较是一种形象的一个意象的一个整个历史过程history of image。那所以我想到这一点，我就觉得应该去把我们老祖先的一些意象也把它带出来。
So art is kind of a stream of collective consciousness, and I'm trying to proceed on with that stream, like probably all the other artists did before.
所以对我来讲，就是这整个艺术好像是一个流程，这个流程之中不断的收集过去生产的一些形象、影像，要把它收集起来，过去已经生产的艺术作品。
And in a more specific way, I'm very much interested how Western science links up with mythological images and links up with the ideas of religion and philosophy and psychology. And if you look at this, you will quickly discover that our whole scientific view of the world, based on analysis, is not even close to be so objective like we pretend all the time.
所以我很关心一个问题，就是我们艺术如何跟一些哲学性的东西、跟神学、跟心理学这些东西做连结那我觉得，其实我们认为我们是个有很科学性的去做分析的能够分析真理这种科学性。可事实上，很多时候可能只是我们事实上并不见得如此很多时候我们认为分析的客观性，很多是我们自己虚拟出来的，或者我们自己虚构夸张出来的。
我有个问题因为我常常看这些艺术品看这个尤其现代艺术品都看不懂，因为他们刚刚自己在讲，他们在创作是天马行空，那我们怎么去了解他的艺术，他在表示什么？如何去了解他在表示什么
？So I have many experiences when I looking at the contemporary art. I cannot understand. So if the artist say the artist have many different association, freely associate with a different thing. But how can I, as an audience, can I know about what the freely association behind the conception of the artist?
Yes, I mean it's also something very general. I cannot answer for specific artists, but it's also a question I'm confronted with almost every day in the museum, I have to say. And it's for me it's really every contemporary art piece might have a lot of references and meanings or something, but I think the value of it is also to have your own thoughts, associations, and to use the artwork as some kind of catalyzer for some communications and own ideas. So I think there's a big openness to the kind of artworks, and you should not be afraid to make up your own thoughts.
作为一个策展者哈，其实我每天都遇到这样的问题哈，所以就是怎么样去了解这个当代艺术品。可事实上可以这样讲说，其实我们是希望说观众在接触这个艺术作品的时候，他不是说需要发掘后面艺术家想的真相，而是能够刺激你自己看到艺术品对你直接的感受，刺激你自己去做你自己的自由的联想，这才是我们的目的。好。
Maybe also to answer this a little bit, maybe it's a good help at one example, if there is contemporary art, I would say it could be so contemporary that I'm, as an expert, even don't know what it wants to tell me. So one of the preconditions of going in an exhibition of contemporary art is this big question mark and curiosity.
OK， 他说，就算我自己成为我自己是做个策展人，但是我坦白讲，我也要跟你承认，很多时候连我自己都不懂。我自己都不懂。也就是说，事实上，我们去看一个当代艺术的时候，你只要在心里带一个大大的问号，跟大大的好奇心，这个才是最重要。
I also ask you a question, Melanie, because I think that the two panels now, they were so very much interesting because it's so obvious that the artists you collected for this exhibition are really diverse, and that the artistic approaches are going from very essentialistic to very sharp conceptual approaches. And actually, I've got the feeling that I never took part in a group show with so diverse artistic approaches, but I think it's totally super interesting, and I like it. But I wanted to know, what do you think now about the show? Actually, now that you've seen it, because you worked so long on the concept for it, like over a year or so, and what is there some kind of resume you have?
好 ，Miriam， 她这个问题是问我们的策展者Melanie 哈，因为她发现说这个策展里面经过这2次，我们前一次的刚刚的讨论跟现在的讨论，她才发现说哇，找来的这些艺术家每个人都这么样的不同哦，这差距非常大，简直很难想象。所以呢，我们想知道说我们的策展者 Melanie 她是怎么自己看待这一次的展览？
Yeah, thank you for the question. I really have to start to think about it because there was so much going on. I really didn't have a conclusion about that for myself yet. But you're right, there are very different artistic approaches in the exhibition. But it was I was a little bit adjusting to the special situation of bringing German art to Taiwan, and I wanted to put the language of art in front that doesn't need so much talking or communication, but could be just communicated by the artworks themselves as images, because I think that's the very strong side of art.
我负起的责任是要把德国青年艺术家群介绍到台湾哦，所以这是很艰巨的工作。那我希望我们我展现这里的艺术不需要太多的解释，我希望让作品本身，当你遇见它跟它观赏到它的时候，它这个作品本身就有这种沟通的能量。
Besides, I tend, of course, maybe in a very German manner to have my own concept and try to hold all the artistic positions very closely to it. I sometimes have a feeling this is a little bit difficult in this exhibition, but on the other hand, it is a good chance to give the Taiwanese audience a broad experience, and this is more important to me in this context. So there might yeah, so the differentiation is, I think, is fine. In Germany, I would have been maybe a little stricter and tied it more tightly together. But yeah, and I also think what I like about it is that yeah, that's how it looks like. You know, these are all contemporary practices, and it's very good to see how that it can function together, even with an exhibition in an exhibition, which is kind of like a little odd thing. So yeah, but I hope it's going to speak to the audience, of course.
当然了，很可能我还是有这个德国的包袱哈，所以我很多想法还是跟着这个，比方说风险社会这个论述从德国的书籍出来，这样等等之类。但是我也尽量想，我的一个愿望就是希望能够把德国社会发生的这么多不同的层面能够这种多元性、这种多义性哈，能够呈现在那个台湾的观众面前，而不是说德国就是一个刻板的印象，所以我才能够希望能够邀请不同的艺术趋近的方式，不同的艺术家风格能够展现在这边。那我至少目前我还蛮高兴的哈，还有不少的观众愿意来观赏，愿意来听我们的讨论。
I just wanted to add maybe to the question before, according to the topic of individualization, isn't it that this diversity is also one of the biggest promises of this topic itself?
Yeah, good point.
对，因为我们刚好这个安娜她加了一句话，就说我们既然是把个体化成为一个展览的主题，那个体化里面其实一个很自然的现象就是一定是多元性，一定是差异性。
那非常谢谢各位观众朋友们今天的出席。那我们再最后一次给热烈的掌声，给我们台上的5位艺术家跟策展人。那就是欢迎。